Hi, welcome back to the Zarlengo Foundation Unlocking Learning Disabilities Podcast. Today we are joined by Cathy, one of the members of our board of directors. And Cathy, one of the reasons you joined our board was because you have a daughter with dyslexia, correct?
Correct.
So how old was she when she got diagnosed?
She got diagnosed in third grade, so she would have been about 9 years old.
Okay, so early enough in the education process that it wasn't terribly detrimental, but late enough that you noticed some hard times at school.
Sure. Well, I noticed when she was in kindergarten, but like most young kids with dyslexia, she was very good at memorizing things. She had some of those compensation strategies. So things like memorizing what the kids in front of her were saying when they were doing reading tests, or like a lot of kids who are very sweet and very charming. She had learned to maybe get the teacher to tell her things that the answer without telling her the answer exactly, but she'd kind of get it out of the teacher. But we noticed things like when she'd bring a book home for reading, that she could, when we'd help her read this side of the book, she could read the words. But when we'd have the exact same word on this side of the book, she couldn't read it. Even though she read it here, she'd see that same word, but have no idea what it was. So we had to fight a lot to get that diagnosis in third grade, because everybody in kindergarten, first and second said, it'll happen, that click will happen. We also had kind of those little things like never being able to tie shoes, rhyming, riding a bike was difficult. The things about crossing the midline, she just couldn't. You know, if you try to cross your midline, meaning like if you were to take your arm and pull it from one side to the other, like if you were drawing cursive in the air, taking that motion was very difficult for her. And that's a pretty good sign when you can't cross your midline that something's not connecting between left and right.
Yeah.
So those were pretty big signs for us early on that there was probably something going on that we needed to have some testing done for.
So how did you guys handle the diagnosis? How did you and your husband, because it's a huge change in your life.
So I was by myself at the time. My husband was deployed in Afghanistan, and I had a brand new baby as well. My son was just born. Before the diagnosis, there was a lot of homework fights and a lot of struggles, and it was actually kind of a relief for us, because when the diagnosis happened, it was like, okay, finally, now we have some ideas of what we can do. Now there's not some fights with her where we're saying, I know you know how to do this. Like, we just went over this. And there was also some relief in knowing, okay, we need to make some changes at home and some strategy changes so that she's not exhausted all day long. And then we're coming home and piling on that with homework.
So what did you do? How did you change things at home to make it run a little smoother?
So some of the things were making sure that we had some proper things in place at school. Some reduced problems at school, reduced homework problems. With math, it was like odd problems only.
Yeah.
Even problems only. Some of the things that we made sure of were on problems that had a lot of explanations, that they shortened the instructions for us and for her, so that when she came home, it wasn't so much information overload.
Yeah.
One of the things I explain to parents a lot of times is that when you have a kid like this, it's like you drop them into a swimming pool and everybody around them knows how to swim. They don't.
Yeah.
And they're doing that all day. They're treading water for 8 hours. And then you bring them home where they're supposed to be able to come home and relax. And you're like, okay, kid, back in you go.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out a way to give them some sort of life preserver. And sometimes that life preserver's you.
Yeah.
So that means sitting in those 504 meetings or those IEP meetings and making sure you get them times tables when they need it in school, a calculator if they're old enough to have one, the word banks. Word banks are a big one. It doesn't mean that they're getting the answers.
Yeah.
It means that they're getting some help. It just means that they're getting the information so that they're not trying to memorize everything. It's a lot on their brain all day.
Yeah. It's exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. So now your daughter is older. And you guys have done the junior high and high school, or you're in high school now kind of era. Okay. So how did you let her have the freedom of junior high and high school without also having it go off the rails completely. So how did you guys approach that?
So I'm not going to lie, junior high, I don't think is easy on anybody.
Yeah.
But we were really fortunate to have a program that we went into that had an executive functioning coach. And that was something that I would encourage for any kid that has ADHD, dyslexia, autism, anything like that, to help them do things like organize their backpack. I would do executive functioning coaching for any kid, or just thinking about cleaning backpacks out and homework organizing, folder organizing for any kid. So at some point we hand them a backpack and we say, this is yours.
Mm-hmm.
And we do this for our littles, and we say, we clean their backpacks out every week. We check their Friday folders. We make sure everything's organized. And then our middle schoolers were like, work it out.
Yeah.
And they're dealing with social stuff in middle school, hormones. They're dealing with lots more homework, a lot of times switching classes.
Yeah, that's a big one.
They go from one teacher all day. Now they have 5 or 6 or 7 teachers. And so there's a lot more things floating around in their brain. And then if you add some little bit of neurodivergence to that and an inability to organize things, it causes some chaos.
Yeah.
And then you add some time blindness in there. And a lot of neurodivergent kids have time blindness.
Yeah.
They really can't see sometimes days of the week. They're like, I have no idea it's Wednesday. A lot of times too, they're on a block schedule now.
Yeah.
They don't have all their classes each day. It's 3 classes this day, 4 classes that day.
Yeah.
Their school schedule time may have changed. All of these things are all combining all at once. And we kind of throw them into it like, well, you're 12 now.
Yeah.
You should be able to handle this. So we did a lot of things like a timed timer, which is kind of like a backwards timer. You have red filling in the time. And instead of the time just kind of disappearing, the red is a visual reminder that the time is going away. So that helps tremendously. And there's a watch, and there's a big timer. With my daughter now that she's older, she's driving. So that getting to school on time is now her responsibility. There's like 27 timers set in the morning. So she has a timer every 10 minutes. You know, you have 10 minutes to do your hair, 10 minutes to eat breakfast, 10 minutes to get your bag together. And that still helps keep her on time, because that counting backwards does not work when you can't, the time doesn't exist for you in space.
Okay, so now that you're in high school, how did you handle self-advocacy? Is she her own self-advocate, or do you go in at the beginning of the year and start the ball rolling? How do you approach that?
We were super fortunate in middle school to have great, wonderful team that taught her how to advocate for herself. They taught her how to email teachers. They went in with her and talked to teachers. So she's very, very confident in the skills that she has and what she needs. I've seen parents that have laminated 504s that send them in with their kids and say, you got to give this to your teacher. There has been occasions where she has had to go to her teachers and say, hey, listen, this is part of my 504. I need to have a calculator. And they've said, that's fine. This is the calculator you're allowed to have. Or I'm not supposed to be marked off for spelling on this particular assignment. And that's fine. Or, hey, I need extra time. And she's allowed to have that. It's part of my 504. And if the teacher has said to her, well, you can't have that, we're fortunate enough at her school that she has, again, somebody that she can go to and say, hey, listen, my 504 is not being followed. I need help.
Yeah. There
has been very few times that I have had to step in the last probably 4 or 5 years, where I have had to say anything. And when I do, I always approach it from, hey, I am checking in and I need to know 2 things. Here is the story that I'm getting from my student. And I need to know what is fact and what is not.
Yeah.
Because before I come in and say, and yell at anybody or say, hey, wait a second, I want to make sure that I'm yelling at the right person.
Yeah.
And what I have told my daughter is that I am 100% your advocate first, 100%. But I will only be that advocate if you are giving me 100% and you are holding your end of the bargain up, because I cannot go burn the bridges down and storm the castle.
Yeah.
If I go in there and I find out that your end is not being held up, because that makes my case weaker every time.
Yeah.
So I just need to know what I'm doing. I'll do it. I'll go and fight for you 100%. I always will, but only if there's something I need to fight for.
Yeah. And if I'm getting 100% of the right story, not a version of the story.
Right.
Yeah. So now that you guys are in high school and you're looking at college, are you looking at college or something else after?
Yeah.
How are you approaching, how do you guys narrow down to say, these are the schools we think would work, or this is the kind of, because that can involve moving and living outside of the house and all these things that are also really hard for LD kids that we don't always think about. So how are you approaching this?
So I think there's a lot of things, and I think it's different. I think you have to kind of rewind way back to when you kind of get when they get that diagnosis, right? And I think for a lot of parents, and I think for a lot of people that don't have a kid with an LD, they don't realize there's a little bit of grief that comes with that right away.
Yeah.
Because I think every kid or every parent when they're born, they're like, my kid's going to be, captain of the football team and the valedictorian and prom king or queen or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you just get socked in the face with this. And a lot of times for dyslexic kiddos, you're also socked with this, holy cow, there's this diagnosis and it's lifelong and there's not a lot we can do about it. And holy cow, it's all these things and there's so much to it. And then there's this, oh wow, there's also a lot of executive functioning things that like the timing and are they going to make it to class on time? And we haven't even gone over clean rooms and bathrooms and how do they do this? And it gets overwhelming sometimes as a parent. And so for us, I think you get past that point and you go, okay, there's so many things that my daughter does so well. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at, right? Is the things that she has always done incredibly well. And in middle school, one of those things was they sat her with the kids that were struggling, which is so funny, right? They sat her with all the kids that were struggling because she was the kid that was caught up with all of her homework. She was the kid that was most organized, all the things that you would think were not the things she should have been. She was the kid that had the great grades, and she was helping all of them get through all of her classes. It's at that point where she kind of discovered, hey, wait a second, I like this. I like teaching. I like helping people. I like directing this. I like being a part of this education of other people.
Yeah.
And so for her, that's what she wants to do. She wants to teach. She wants to figure out how to make this easier on kids like herself.
Sure.
And it's been like an inspiration for her. So now the part of it is, okay, who has the best teaching program? Where can we go? Who's going to accommodate that? She does not want to live in dorms or any, she wants to stay home.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But I told her, eventually you're going to want to move out. So we've worked on things like, okay, let's work on doing laundry.
Yeah.
She already is cooking for herself. We just have to watch that because, again, that time management.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things can't stay on the stove too long.
Yeah.
We work, cleaning is always cleaning's a thing.
Cleaning is a struggle for
it's a struggle.
LD kids. Yes, it is.
It's a struggle, and it will be, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when they have their own space, that's not mom and dad's space.
Yeah.
And there's nobody to tell them they have to do it. I think that changes a lot.
Yeah.
And with driving now, the responsibility has shifted so much. That has kind of given a new level of maturity. I think sometimes when we just meet them where they are, it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway, I think a lot of times we just want them to be so much different, but you just have to meet them where they are and who they are. And I think that's all you can do.
Yeah. So for college, are you thinking, are you going to treat it as you're self-advocate and you're going to go do your own thing? Is she looking at a reduced schedule or a lesser schedule, maybe that first year? Or is she just going to jump in and we'll just see how it goes?
I think she'll jump in and see how it goes. We haven't quite looked at schedules yet for college because she's a junior, so
few
she's
years
still
away.
she's still a couple years away.
Yeah.
But we have talked about her working during school and seeing how that looks for her because we want her to have some job experience when she's out. Like I don't want her to work full time or anything like that, but just so she gets an idea of, she may think she wants to go into teaching now, but she may fall in love with something else, whether she interns or does something else.
Yeah.
I want her to get an experience things.
Yeah.
You know, I think at 18, you go into school and you're like, this is what I want to do. And I think so many people figure out, oh, wow, I'm a year into college and now I love something else.
Yes.
And so I want her to get the opportunity to do anything that she wants to do.
Yeah.
And try it all and not be restricted or think she has to be restricted for any reason.
Yeah, I agree. So is there anything else that you did as a family or that you did as like a parent of an older kid that now has had a diagnosis for a while? So she had some time to get used to that idea through school. But is there anything else you can think of that, be a helpful tip for parents?
I think probably one of the biggest things that I did was we really talked about the science of why and of how, and especially now that I have a very inquisitive younger brother of hers, and the other day he says, "Well, is this something you were born with?"
Yeah,
and he wants to know why, how, kind of thing. And for us, like even right after my daughter was diagnosed, HBO had come out with this great special on dyslexia and the dyslexic brain, and they showed brain scans of how the brain lights up when you read. We had her watch it.
Yeah.
Like, watch this.
Yes.
We've always talked about inventors and people who have thought outside the box. And that's one thing whenever she's feeling down or like, gosh, this is so frustrating. This is one thing I always look at her and tell her is like, I want you to look around at the millions of inventions that have happened. None of them would have happened without a dyslexic thinker. Somebody had to think outside of the box.
Yeah.
Because linear thinkers could not have made that happen.
Yeah.
Somebody had to have been, when you look at a dyslexic brain, it lights up all over the place. And linear thinkers don't.
Yeah.
And we need that. The world would not function as it is today without people like you. And so whenever I think that's a reinforcement of that we have reinforced all the time, constantly, every time, anytime there's any kind of self-doubt, sadness, anxiety, any of that, it's always comes back to the same thing. Like, look around you. You're 1 in 4, 1 in 5. There's people all around you that have that are going through the same thing.
Yeah. So let's talk about anxiety, because that can be crippling for the child, but it can also be crippling for the family, right? So are there any tips? I know anxiety is so different for each kid, but is there anything that you guys do to try to lower the anxiety in your household?
So I think, anxiety can be crippling and it can. I think even as a parent, sometimes we don't notice that we have it. And I think for a long time there was, especially when they're little, there's an expectation of like everything has to be perfect. And I think for especially parent to parent, there's a lot of like, my kid's grades are here, or you're driving down the street and it's parent of an honor student at whatever school, and there's end of year is always hard as a parent sometimes, especially if your kid's not the kid getting all the awards, right? And fortunately, when she was a lot younger, we went to a school that didn't give out academic awards. So that was cool. That's one of the things they were like, we just don't do that here. Yeah. And we were like, okay, that's fine. Middle school, we went to a school that they gave out a lot of academic awards. And it was fine. She was getting a lot of academic awards. It worked out just fine. But there's pressure there as a parent. There's a lot of pressure that somehow you have to meet that. And I think unknowingly, we kind of put that pressure, and it kind of causes some of that anxiety. Well, my kid goes to so-and-so school, and it's a school for special students, or it's I'm in this program, or I have this honor student, or whatever it is. And sometimes I don't think parents think about the fact that the parent across from them may not be having that same experience. And that and it's not that you shouldn't be proud of your kid and where they are, wherever, but I think sometimes we get kind of like anxious about having to meet with those people. And then when your kid's there, you're kind of hyper vigilant about how they're feeling hearing that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of important to say, if they bring something like that up, hey, it's okay. Yeah, no, you didn't win their award, but you may be the kindest kid in your class.
You're also really good at these other things that maybe don't have an award.
Right. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, did they not recognize the person that picks up all the trash on the playground?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you were the best friend this year.
Yeah.
Like you were really awesome with the kids that didn't have somebody to sit with at lunch. You sat with all of them this year. And I'm sorry they don't give awards out for that. But, sometimes they don't give awards out for just being a really good person. And as a parent, we have to just tamper our comparisons out, right?
Yeah.
And for them, I think it's just monitoring, okay, you're getting anxious. What are you anxious about? Is it a test? So how, if it's public school, are there tests we can opt out of? Okay, you can opt out of the CMAS. You can opt out of MAPS. If it's causing that big of an anxiety for your student, opt them out.
Yeah. Yep.
MAPS are MAPS are a little more critical in some of the districts because they're a progression of your students' progress. CMAS, I know that's going to kind of be a little controversial, but when you're talking about your students' mental health, is it that controversial to opt them out? It's really not.
Yeah.
I had at one point my child underneath the desk and crying because of having to take a test.
Yeah.
That anxiety was that bad. So we did things like put it into her 504 that she could test with in a room that was quiet. Part of that anxiety was that other people were finishing before her. And so she was like, why am I not done?
Yeah.
So some of it is getting to the root of that. What makes you anxious about the test taking? Is it that you're not going to finish in time? Is it that it's loud in there? Is it that you don't think you're going to do a good job? Is it that you can't finish the questions? Is it that they're too hard? Is what bothers you about it? And once you get to the root of that, then it's, okay, where do we solve that? What within the laws that we can work with in the 504 or in your IEP can we do to fix it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And is there anything at home, anxiety at home, like the clean room thing? That's a legitimate thing that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger because it gets harder and harder when we don't just do the first step.
Right.
But the first step is the hardest step, right? So is there anything you do at home, do you do reward charts when they were little, or how did you guys approach the cleaning the room or, cleaning up after ourselves kind of thing?
So the clean room is still a battle at home as a teenager. I'm not going to lie about that. So we have said that is your space and it's your responsibility. But bathroom is a shared space. Yeah. And that's for her and her brother. It's a shared space. That has to get cleaned. Yep. So that is your responsibility. So we do have chore charts for both kids. We don't really do like allowance or anything like that. There's not a reward for doing something that is that's your done. Responsibility. And what we tell them is, hey, you live here. This is a citizen of you're a citizen of this ecosystem.
Yes.
It's kind of how we explained it. Like this is your space. We don't use this space. It's yours to clean. So, but we do expect it to be clean. So some of it is just a reminder. Hey, your countertop is getting to the point where there's not enough space on it for both of you. Let's clean that up. Or, hey, you're at the point where this is going to be a 5-minute cleanup. If you let it go till, this is Sunday, if you let this go till Friday, this is going to be probably a 25-minute cleanup. Would you rather do a 5-minute cleanup or a 25-minute cleanup?
Yeah. So walking through the logistics of it all. Yeah. And then picking your battles, right?
Oh, 100%.
The room, we're not going to battle. The bathroom, we're going to battle. So, these kinds of, as a parent, saying, here's the things that I'm willing to let go.
Yeah. And we did do the room battle for a long time. We bought organizers. We pulled, all day events of pulling everything out of the room and starting from scratch and redoing things and moving things. And with a lot of dyslexic kids, I know with and just kids with the LD in general, they like to nest. So if you look at their rooms actually build up like a little nest. It is what makes them comfortable.
Yeah, and having it all out visually. Even though it's chaos to other people,
Yes.
I need to see all the things that I have available. If I put it in a bin, it will live in that bin for the rest of its life. Yeah.
Never see it again.
Yeah.
And so some of that is, okay, do we take that comfort away? And again, this is saying to her again, there's something wrong with the way that you're visualizing or doing something.
Yeah.
And I'm asking her to conform every place else, but this can be someplace that she doesn't necessarily have to. When it gets to the point that it's spilling out the door, then we say, okay, no, it's in my space now.
Yeah.
It cannot come into my space or the hallway, which is a public space in our house. This isn't everybody's space. Can't come into there. It has to stay into her space. I think the other thing for her and for us to, like for me, I'm neurotypical. So it's difficult for me sometimes to get into her brain. But for her, she's already done everything 30 minutes ago, and I'm 30 minutes behind her because the brain process is so much faster. And, that visualization is completely different. So, like, she's gone through and cleaned the kitchen, but all the cupboards are open. And she's like, but I closed all those. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. Well, her brain closed them.
Yeah.
But she physically did not.
Yes.
So some of the things in her room are, but I already put that away. And I'm like, no, but it's sitting right there. So I have to remember too that her brain has processed this stuff because it's just going so fast all the time. But mine hasn't. Yeah. So some of it is just, again, it's meeting them where they are. So I have to remember, okay, just because my brain is, 30 minutes ago does not mean hers is. Yeah. So it's picking your battles and understand where you want to frustrate them. Yeah. And yourself. And yourself, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I wanted to fight this bedroom battle, I could. And some days I just...
Yeah. It's going to end in the same spot. Right. So you might as well just let that one go.
I will have a clean bedroom when she moves out.
Yes. Yeah.
I will.
Yeah. Okay. So is there any other thing that I have forgotten, for that junior high and high school age kid that would be helpful for other parents? I mean, we've covered quite a lot of ground, but is there anything I'm forgetting that you'd want to say to parents?
I think give them some grace, especially at the beginning of the school year. This year in particular, a lot of them are losing their cell phones this week, or last week. But also remember that so many of them are scrolling a lot, and it's a real cheap dopamine hit. And with our LD kids, they're always searching for that dopamine. So find a way to replace it, but also realize that they lost it cold turkey this week. And so if they're a little bit cranky, add that on top of being exhausted from a first week of school, being exhausted from a schedule change. If you got a middle schooler starting middle school this week, you've got schedule change, new teachers, maybe multiple teachers, bigger, different expectations. I mean, going from a 5th grader to a 6th grader is like a whole new world. And I think just giving them some grace is really important.
Key. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us with this podcast. And we hope that you found some information in this conversation that could be helpful in your home. So thank you again for joining us on Unlocking Learning Disabilities Podcast.